Hey, this is the World Advice Channel. What I want to talk about today is a topic that a lot of people have on their mind nowadays, particularly because, of course, of something that's been hyped up for easily over a decade now, and so on and so forth. As you can see from the title of this video, I'm going to expose the truth about the whole situation relating to this country, which is known as China. So, the truth of the matter is, when as you can clearly see by the title of this video, China is overrated. So there's going to be 2 points for this video, which expose why China is overrated in a sense of how powerful it is and why it's not going to overtake the United States anytime soon. Okay, so anyway, let's get started. So when it comes to the first reason why China is overrated, the first one is obviously just down to simple common sense. Okay, if you've been paying attention to China, their economy is not doing the greatest right now. Okay, that's the first one. Their economy, especially because of COVID, is doing terribly. There's reports from channels like China Observer, China Insights, and so on and so forth, showing that a lot of their businesses are closing down and so on and so forth. Their economy is doing horribly. Not to mention, they have a lot of buildings they created, and of course, obviously, the banks of the world in general, for that matter, are greedy anyway. But of course, to top it all off, especially when they have a legitimate reason to be concerned, they have a lot of money to pay off because they create a lot of buildings and they did not actually well in all honesty, as you already know, tens of millions buildings that can host tens of millions of people, and guess what, no one's in them. They have a bunch of literal cities that are full of empty vacant houses where no one lives in the first place. So they have a lot of money to pay off. So their economy is doing horribly. And how's that issue going to go away? It's just like the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. Everyone we were taught growing up, for us millennials particularly, of course, okay, America has tens of trillions of dollars that are easily $10 trillion or more, they're going to have to pay off. Okay, so how much are they going to have to? So it's going to take them decades to fully pay off the money they spent on those wars. Now look at China's situation. It's the same thing. And they're not even a world superpower, the world number one superpower. So how are they going to pay off all of those debts? Okay, that's the question that you want to ask. And lastly, to end this off, how does China have buying power? That's also another question, and it relates to kind of my second main point, but which I'll get to soon. Which, of course, the thing is, Chinese people work nonstop. They work a lot of time. If you work so much, how much time do you really have to really spend money so people can actually, of course, consume things? It's just like Japan. Why Japan never became the world's number one superpower. There's different reasons for that, because for the longest time Japan was second, but the reason why Japan would have never become a world superpower anyway is because how do you really make money when most of the people in your nation have to work like nonstop? Like, even the kids don't have much free time compared to other nations. Like, how do you really have all that freaking time to really spend, money on anything? You just buy things that are bare essentials, and you might watch a few TV shows, but you only can follow a few, or so on and so forth, because you have so much time to spend, freaking working. So it's kind of like, okay, um, like how much money do you have to spend? So that's another question to add to that, aside also on top of the other questions. So now let's get to the second main point, which I promised I would get to soon, and I'm now getting to it, which is the reason why China is overrated. Is also the fact that they have so many issues that they haven't resolved. Everything from the issue of Bailan, which is known as lying flat, which means which because so many people are disenfranchised with the Chinese system of government, people are just simply deciding to give up and deciding to just enjoy their lives and not even work. There's literally tens of millions of youth, at the very least millions of Chinese youth who are lying fat, which of course, even for a nation of billions of people, can add up over time. Okay, that's for one. They have a huge birth rate issue. They're not having children. So, like, how much longer can you really, support your nation when people are not having children? Their elderly population is growing rapidly because they're not having many children because they don't have the time to. Not to mention the cost of living is going up ridiculously. So people not only don't have enough free time to really buy anything, also as well, they have to also, of course, well, you know, have trouble paying for things because the price of everything is so expensive. So, and there's a lot of other issues, such as also the fact that Chinese women marry more for money more than actually for actual love, you know, and you know, and oh my God, there's a bunch of ones to add to it as well. Another one to also add to it that also is very, very, very true about China is the fact that a lot of the people, there's a huge amount of growing disenchantment with the government. The government hasn't, under Xi Jinping, hasn't done a very good job in running a nation. So there's a huge amount of issues that their nation has. A lot of Chinese people are not happy with their government. They're not happy with the way things are going. So there's a good chance China might actually lose its position as a world. Well, not necessarily lose its position, but it's definitely not going to overtake the United States anytime soon. The United States is too powerful. It's too organized. China's infrastructure, as well as even its military and stuff, and even the quality of their food inspection, is clearly not as great as the United States. So, so obviously that can affect them over time. Not to mention they don't have free time. If you don't have free time, how are you going to really build buying power? A lot of people are stressed out and people don't have time to date and a lot of issues. That's why China is probably going to collapse. Well, maybe not collapse, but it's going to continue to have issues. So they're not going to succeed anytime soon. It's all hype in the end of the day, in all honesty. And this is something the BBC was trying to hype up for a long time, but they're not going to overtake United States anytime soon. It was all just hype. It was all just fascinating the idea of, oh my God, a non-white nation can become a superpower and all that type of stuff, which we thought was interesting. And of course, it was the hype between China versus India, all that type of stuff, between those two nations. And India is definitely not going to get anywhere soon, which I'll get more into that eventually. But, because of course, well, obviously, one of their biggest issues is the caste system thing, you know. But when it comes to China, the hype, China's going to become the next superpower. Who's going to win, India or China? Who, China or India? China's going to, but we know China's definitely going to become superpower. Absolutely. They're probably going to become number one or this and that. And all the hype around the late 2000s about that stuff, like, you know, stuff like that. And guess what? Nothing happened. It was all just hype. And they're not really getting anywhere. So it's just all hype in the end of the day. Because with all their issues and it built up over time, not even including the other issues that I didn't mention, like the fact that there's way more Chinese men than there are Chinese women. There's a lot of people in different provinces like Tibet and Uyghurs who hate China and want nothing to do with them. Not to mention all the nations that they pissed off, outside of China because of the South China Sea dispute and the Taiwan issue and a whole lot of other issues China has. Yeah, so with all those issues, do you really think they're going to overcome the United States anytime soon? No, they're not going to overcome the United States. The United States is too powerful. It's too organized. It has too much money, you know, and obviously it has buying power and it has entertainment, which actually gets extremely overlooked when it comes to the importance of economics because like it's a good way to generate money without having to always come up with a new idea. China doesn't have any of those things. Well, who's really watching Chinese entertainment anyway? So besides, it's not to be a hate piece against China, but I'm just saying they're not going to overtake the United States anytime soon. They're too powerful. So anyway, that's my video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you like videos like this, remember to thumbs this video up and hit the subscribe button. That's all I have to say. And simply put it, later.